about to enter Israel.
The evacuation starts now for all passengers participating in the excursion. And who've got the
Estamos llegando al puerto de Ashdod, en Israel.
Proceed ashore. Verse number 1 is for Region 10 Cosmos Holiday. I repeat, verse number 1, Region Holiday and Cosmos passengers. Verse number 2 for Globus, and verse number 2 and 3 for our individual.
Handed over to the Jordanian army by the British. We tried 4 times to conquer it in 48. We failed with heavy losses. Today it's a memorial site to the Israeli armor divisions. So forward on the right where the flag is, this is the old police station. And when we turn to the right, on the right-hand side is the Trappist monastery, the Trappist Abbey. We'll be coming shortly in about a mile to highway number 1, which connects Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, about 38 miles. A beautiful dual highway. So that's the Trappist Abbey on the right hand side. How much rain do we get? Well, Galilee, which is on the left where most of our water comes from, that's where the Jordan River is and the other rivers, gets about 25 inches a year. This area would get about 17 to 20 inches a year.
We're back in Israel on our way to Jerusalem.
It's a new road, the detour around the new city of Jerusalem. Short time later, we'll see where the old border between Israel and Jordan was. And the Bible says Jerusalem was surrounded by mountains, and I say Jerusalem was surrounded by borders. And the only way, and the only area which was open to the traffic coming from the lowland was the west side, the same road that we just came up. Control. Take in. It might be good for the economy in the long run. Yeah, but the amount of money that we have to pay for it is quite a lot. I wouldn't say very educated ones, yes. As far as medicine is concerned, Israel is the #1 in the world per doctor, yes. Per the amount of people in Israel, in Russia. Then we have the largest number of doctors in Israel. Now the Russian medical system is different. We are much more advanced than the Russian system.
We have here a beautiful view of Jerusalem. You can see the old wall in front of us and the golden domed dome of the rock. This is where the rock is located, where Abraham is supposed to have sacrificed his son. Of course, he never did really sacrifice his son because the angel stopped him in time. You can also see parts of the west Jerusalem, which is the more modern section, in the background. Again, zooming in on the Dome of the Rock. The black dome that you see on the side there is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Right in front of us there, in that little tower, on the wall, you can see the Golden Gate. This is where it is believed that Jesus will come when he comes again for the second judgment. In front of that area is the Arab cemetery. Right at the bottom of the screen now is the Arab cemetery. Jerusalem is a holy city, so Jewish people are not allowed to be buried within Jerusalem, nor are they allowed to be buried. The black dome there is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, right in the middle of the screen now. So Jewish people are also not allowed to be buried on some of the hills around Jerusalem because they are holy mountains. So Jewish people are also buried outside the old city. So this is the Judean wilderness. Just outside of Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is a beautiful city. You come here for a day, you need another day. You come for a week, you need another day. You come for a month and you need another day, an extra day. It's something special about the city. So we drive away from the Hebrew University, on the left again with the little domes with the arches. This is the Brigham Young Mormon University, Brigham Young. And behind the high tower, the Russian Church of the Ascension. And we're going now to Gethsemane, Gat Shemna. Well, you follow me to the garden of the church. See some old olive trees, about 800 years old. Now the church is surrounded by olive trees and the remains of the oldest Jewish cemetery in the country, which is about 3,000 years old. Some of the tombs go back to the days of David, around the house of David. See, Jews are not allowed to be buried inside the city. Jews could not be left over the weekend dead outside the city. Because to the Jews it is a holy city. So you bury people in cemeteries outside the city. It's a short day of preparation, yeah, because it was Friday and the first day of Passover. I'll talk about it later, just before we enter the old city. There was a shortcut to get down to Gethsemane, but we try to avoid it, and this is another reason why we don't go to Mount of Olives, which has a nice view, because of stones. Pastors are being stoned by children. It's a nuisance, some kind of a protest against Israel. I think they will gain anything by throwing stones on us. Well, the police is changing the attitude the last few days. And the punishment becomes much harder from day to day. And there is great demand among us, the people, to make the punishment as hard as possible. So it's really a nuisance, folks. Gate. Forward, we'll have the minute you shortly, is known as the Golden Gate. But this is already the wall of the temple area. We're going to stop shortly. We just crossed the Kidron, or the East Valley. The cemetery on the right, folks, it's a Muslim cemetery. No Jew can be buried on this mountain. This is Mount Moriah. It's a holy mountain.
There's the Golden Gate.
Now we move forward all the time. to get a nice view of the church, when you come out of the area of the church later, you follow me, I'll explain a few more things about it. I can't explain inside the church.
Cemetery right in front of
You cross the street to the left side and you take a nice picture of the entrance to the church, but watch the traffic. The traffic is...
We are on the slopes of Mount Olives. And the name speaks for itself. 2,000 years ago, there must have been hundreds of thousands of olive trees here.
The Mount of Olives.
You still find some olive trees which are about 800 years old. Very hard to estimate the age of the olive tree because they can fall asleep for hundreds of years.
Muslim cemetery.
That tree over there is about 800, 900 years old. It is railed, yes. Some of the other trees by that man which is irrigating, it's about 900 years old. Looks like an hollow trunk, but still giving fruit. Now the church itself, renovated in 1925, is built around a stone which is a part of an olive oil press known as the Rock of Agony. There where Jesus left the disciples that were supposed to send God 3 times when they were asleep. He went to the rock, sat on it, fell in agony and prayed. Very early Friday morning he was arrested by the Romans. Now it was very early, most probably still dark. This is why it's very dark inside the church. All the windows are made of alabaster stone, not glass. It gives you a feeling as if you walk into an area which is very early in the morning, still before sunrise. It's known as the Church of All Nations. If you walk in, you turn right, you look up, you see emblems of many countries. On the right half is the American emblem. Money was donated by many countries to renovate the church in 1925. Now, the east valley of Jerusalem, the Kidron, we are facing a part of the east pole. Now, from that stone, right to the end, 500 meters, the east pole of the temple area. The continuation is the east wall of the city. The Golden Gate, money changers that Jesus threw out of the temple area, and the valley, the Kidron Valley, but the area opposite the temple is known as the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Biblical name, Jehoshaphat, Jehovah, God, Shabbat in Hebrew is to judge, the Valley of God's judgment, connected with the resurrection. Behind the golden dome, the dome of the rock, somewhere there was the Holy of the Holies. We don't know exactly where. So we have the East Valley, the east wall of the temple area, Mount Moriah, Mount of Olives. When you go to the church, you walk right to the end, a railed area in the Rock of Agony, connected with Jesus praying. And you see glass tablets on the floor.
to the Mount of Olives, and we're going into the Church of All Nations, where the Garden of Gethsemane was. So this is inside the Church of All Nations. This Very, very old olive tree. So this is really what's left of the Garden of Gethsemane.
A few of them seem to have little tweaks.
Here, this is my third time in Israel, and this is the first time they've actually taken me to this church, so it's nice to see something different. So this is Mount of Olives, Garden of Gethsemane, very, very old olive trees. See how thick the trunks are. As we walk towards the exit, and then I'll take a shot of the front of the Church of All Nations. The reason it's called that is because it was built by many different nations.
Anybody need a film?
So inside this garden where Jesus was betrayed and where Jesus was taken by the soldiers, and then of course he was taken over to the city.
These guys get an idea. Anybody need a film, Nicholas film? For a different cards, $1. 20 bookmark, $1.
This is the Church of All Nations. This is where Jesus was suffered the agony and also was betrayed. It's the Garden of Gethsemane on Mount of Olives.
The entrance to the church of Gethsemane. We have many, many tombs, but not on the mountain on the right. It's a holy mountain. Not inside the city. It's a holy city. Jews were not allowed ever to be buried inside the city. That triangular monumental tomb down on the left, down in the valley, there's a picture in the book, known as the tomb of Zechariah, the prophet, authentic. Zechariah. There are many, many other tombs here. Now, if you look to the right, when we come behind the stones here, you see a different wall right of the cut. The bottom is Herod. Look at the beautiful stones. Surrounded from three sides by big valleys. Only here was some kind of a tower that protected the city from the north. Now, if you look close to the wall, you see number 17. Under the black dome at the bottom, close to where the two walls meet, you see number 17? Close to the son of Hinnom, and because they used to sacrifice here children, especially children, to us. This is the origin. Now, the continuation, and this is the west valley of the city. The continuation of Gehenna right at the end, before it meets the dividing valley, and it meets the east valley, was the dung gate of the old city. That's where they used to carry the litter out, right at the bottom of the valley. And there is hell. Now hell, I can't go too much into it because, believe me, I don't know almost all of it. It has a lot to do with mysticism, with a red cow that used to be sent into the valley for the redemption of the sins of the people just before the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. It's very complicated. We're going to have lunch here later. Anyway, all the stories about the furnace, and strict is the Jewish law of inheritance and marriage. Very strict. Because if a man died, his next of kin had to marry the widow. And if you refuse, it's a very shameless procedure.
Square.
Yeah, I'm coming.
This is the Church of the Nativity.
$1.
Come on, get them over.
So this is the Nativity Square.
No doubt that we are in Bethlehem. One of the very few churches that was spurred by the Persians in 614 when they invaded the country. But destroyed later at 638 by the Muslims. Rebuilt a few times. What we're going to see the larger part of the church today is Crusader, 800 years old. How church was built, the shape of the church, I'll discuss that inside. Look how many different gates we have here, though this is the walls are about 800 years old. Now look how many different gates. We have that stone is 1, the straight stone is 2, the arch is 3, and this is 4. 4 or 5 different gates here. Now it was made low, not for the one with bow, it's just because to keep the infidels, as they call them, the Muslims, from riding into the church on the horses.
This now is very small.
The other one's
You're not doing colors before that. Can do the limbo. Lambada.
To the Nativity, and I'll go right into the manger itself, so that I can film it in a little bit of privacy. So this is the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. This is the way to the manger. He's working very hard. This leads into the place where Jesus was born in the grotto. Down these steps. Into the interior. So we now enter the cave where Jesus was supposed to have been born. This is our belief. This is where the manger stood. And as you can see, there are people praying at this area. The cave is really quite small and doesn't hold more than about 30 or 40 people standing up at the most. I have seen the place when there were some celebrations going on there, and they can be very lengthy. So this is a very dark place also, and it's only lit by those lamps that are hanging down, so it's rather difficult to see some parts of it. So this is the area where Jesus was born and where Jesus stood. There's a sign above the manger that says, Gloria in excelsis Deo, Pax hominibus, peace on earth, or peace to mankind. So again, this is where the manger stood. Again, it's very dark and very difficult to see, but it's one shot that should not be eliminated from a tape, especially not of Israel and of Bethlehem. This is the cave itself. You can see how small it is, and there are some things hanging from the wall. And right there in front is an altar. You can see the lamps hanging down. This is very Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox traditional. This is where Jesus was born. You can see the star in the bottom, and as the guide says, this is where the Word was made flesh. There's a silver star, and right above this silver star is an altar where Mass is said, where other celebrations are held for the different religions. Remember, there's more than one religion that believes in this place, and therefore celebrations are done through different people. So we'll let the guide take over. You can see some of the people are going down to touch it, sometimes to kiss it.
The more coming down? I'm standing next to the Nativity. That's where the Word became flesh. And on your left side, and those facing me, on your right, this is known as the manger. We are in a cave, in a natural cave, there's no doubt. But the whole church is built on top of a complex of many caves. There are many caves on your left and on your right. And in some of the caves, the early Christians lived, and we know, and we have record that this is where St. Jerome lived. And remember, it was very common. People lived in caves, people lived in mud huts, people lived in little wooden shacks which they used to build if they had enough wood. So this is the traditional site of the Nativity where Jesus was born, and that's the manger. And the year is 7 BC. There was a mistake in the calendar. Should have today 1997, not 1990. We're using today the Gregorian calendar, and up to about the 10th century they used the Adrian calendar. Gregorian, it was changed by Pope Gregorius, and he made a mistake of 7 years. Those are all kind of guides. I wouldn't impose myself on another group. That's what the other guy did, that woman who came in with the German group. While our group was still there, she just came on. She could have waited 3-4 minutes. Well, just one of those things. Now when we came out of the area of the Nativity, which is under the authority of the Greek Orthodox Church, but the larger part of the church here is Greek Orthodox. You were sitting waiting for me at the Armenian chapel, and this is the Catholic Church. These are the 3 denominations of this church. When we go this afternoon after lunch to the Holy Sepulchre, what
there the church is divided between 6 denominations. So there we have the Greek Orthodox, then we have the Armenian, we have the Coptic, we have the Catholic, and we have the Ethiopian. Now,
St. Catherine's Catholic Church in Bethlehem. So I'm just standing outside the Church of the Nativity now. There's a service going on inside here.
Take the picture and come back. We're on Nativity Square. Well, and this is the view from the balcony. Just walking up now. David City. And I swing over to the old city of Jerusalem. There's the wall. A different view than from what we had last year, because we weren't up here last year. So we're back in Jerusalem. And of course here we have the wilderness. So this is the view from the Mount Zion Hotel, and this is of course from Mount Zion. Day. We came from Ashdod this morning, got up quite early, like 5:30, and we left the Jason, the ship, came here, went to Bethlehem, first Jerusalem, then to Bethlehem, now back in Jerusalem, and now we'll go into the old city. So maybe we'll see some new things there. Finish this afternoon, we'll go back to the ship.
Is Bombay and police is police. So Aqaba is Coptic, the Coptic street, yes? There was a question here, do we follow the old Roman street? No, folks. This is one of the Turkish streets. Yes, 400 years old. Turkish. What different dates?
What's this thing sticking out for?
That's a part of the old building and another, what that?
No, I mean the big one sticking
All
out.
that was a part of the lower balcony. But there were changes made here. On that they used to put the rails, the steel rails, and on that the balcony. Yes?
The Holy Sepulchre, Holy Sepulchre.
Must be careful.
Everything here inside the church, $1. $1 inside the church.
The actual entrance to the church was where the steps are. There were so many changes made here, especially at 614 when the church was completely destroyed by the Persians. Rebuilt, destroyed by the Muslims. Rebuilt, destroyed by earthquake. Rebuilt, destroyed by fire. The last earthquake was 1837. And even today the church is being renovated. We don't have the three entrances. We only have two. The third is buried here by another wall that supported the church so it won't fall down. 325, 326, Queen Hannel comes here. She is a dying old woman, very orthodox. She wants to see the places that she reads so much about in the Bible. She comes here, she's taken by one of the priests. I was busy that day. And he showed her the place of the crucifixion and the tomb. Of course, these places have changed so much. Even especially the original tomb, if we accept the version that this is the place where Jesus was buried, next to it, I'll point out to you where to go and see original tombs that have not been touched because they are not connected with Jesus. The story is she walks around, she finds fragments of the cross, pieces of wood. From here she goes to Bethlehem and they show her the place of the Nativity in the manger. She goes back home, orders her son Constantine to build monumental churches, as was the fashion, and a short time later, Queen Helen passed away. She died. And her son, of course, obeyed the order, the will of his mother, and he builds really huge churches, as you will realize shortly how big the church is. Now, folks, when you walk into the church, ignore the building around you. That building did not exist before the middle of the 4th century. There must have been a slope of a hill with a shoulder, some kind of a plain on the mountain where the Romans used to crucify people because you could see it from all sides. And that side there must be a wall of the city about 100 or 200 yards with a small gate which marks station 7, yes, according to tradition where Jesus walks through a gate. Was that outside the city during the Herodian period? We don't really know. But we know that the garden tomb was outside the city. So it's quite a problem, folks. But again, we accept it for convenience. So what do we have here? Station 8 is about 100 yards over there. And there he turns to the daughters of Jerusalem and asks them not to cry over here. He continues carrying the cross to the place of crucifixion and he's told to halt. You carry everything, you halt, you're tired, you fall down. The third fall of Jesus. Remember, station 3, 7, and 9. Now, station 9, which marks the third fall of Jesus, is in there, in that little chapel which is over there, which is Ethiopian, the church of Ashdod. Inside the church, on the right, upstairs, which is supposed to be Golgotha, the skull, the place of crucifixion, otherwise known as Calvary or Calvaria. Station number 10, when Jesus is undressed. 11, he is nailed to the cross. 12, the crucifixion. and later you can walk up the steps and see the place of the cross. When the body declared dead, they brought him down. The stone of anointment is right in there. We'll see it shortly. When the body was washed, anointed, covered with linen, and carried to the tomb, which is station 14. But there were many changes made even around the tomb, because when the church was destroyed in 1837, the Russians had paid 2 million rubles, which was a lot of money 150 years ago, to the Turkish government to get permission to build the structure, the construction on the tomb today, which is Russian. So this is the tradition, which is very old. Remember, 326, and we accepted this. Yes? We'll meet outside later here. Now the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is divided between the following denominations. Outside on the left, walk out, the Ethiopian Church, mark station 9, the third fold. The larger part of the church over there, Greek Orthodox. They were always here. This is the East Church. And the larger part of the tomb, Greek Orthodox. That whole section is Armenian. Behind the tomb, the sepulchre, we have the Roman Catholic chapel, which marks the place where Mary was standing watching the crucifixion. And behind the tomb, the small part of the tomb is Coptic, which is the Church of Egypt. This is supposed to be the heel of the skull, Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. This is the station 13, the anointment. The body was washed, covered with linen, yes, and anointed. And from here, the body was carried. Come with me.
Is the entrance to one of the churches? One of the entrances?
Folks, you live in a country of paradox. But before that, behind me is supposed to be the last station where Jesus was buried. Now to see an original tomb, when you come out of the tomb, you walk behind it, you see a little arch and an area lighted. You walk in there, turn left, and you will see original tombs, because the area is all covered with Jewish tombs. So that must have been one day outside the city. Remember what I told you? No Jew was allowed to be buried inside the city because it was a holy city. Now, when the city was enlarged, bodies were moved out, even of kings. We know that the body of David was moved out a few times. We saw the big black dome, remember? It's on top of us. So the church, the original church, is 1,655 years old, built by Constantine the Great, the son of St. Helen. Now, that man that I just slapped his back, he's an Arab, he's a Muslim. He and another member of the family are Muslim nobles. In 1187, 800 years ago, when Saladin beat the Crusaders near Tiberias, conquered Caesarea and Jerusalem from Baldwin, or the Kingdom of Jerusalem, he gave the keys to this church to a Muslim family that helped him conquer Jerusalem. So his family has been the custodian of this very important, the most important church in the world to the Christians. Muslim family are the custodians. They have the keys to the gate. Interesting, isn't it? Okay. Follow the other group, walk around the church, get your impressions. Greek Orthodox, Catholic, Armenian, the other side of the tomb, Coptic, and outside, Ethiopian. And when you finish with this tomb, you go to the other side, straight ahead, and there you see original, old, 2,000 years old tombs. If you have any questions, I'll meet you all outside. I don't give you any time limit, yes? Whenever you finish, you get your impressions, we'll meet outside and we continue touring the old city.
That's pretty skimpy now. I'm not sure.
So this This is a piece of the original stone.
We'll have to take pictures. Can we take pictures? No, I don't know what he's doing. Do you want it?
They built this church around the tomb.
So this is behind the tomb of Christ, and this is what some of the real tombs would have looked like. It's very dark down in here. This is an original tomb. No light in there.
Well, here we are.
Oh, these are the tombs that he talked about going to have a look at. Oh, well, it's so dark in there, you can't see anything.
Here's the anointing stone. Then we'll go up and see the stations upstairs. This is right underneath where Christ died.
Der heutige Komplex der Grabeskirche mit zahlreichen Einzelgebäuden, verschiedenen Baustilen und komplizierten
And if you look down here, you can see where the cracks in the walls are.
aus den Stilen mitzuschließen. Die älteste Bau des Landes der Grabeskirche ist der Überrest einer großen Basilika, die in der ersten Hälfte des 14. Jahrhunderts unter Kaiser Konstantin.
It's where Jesus was stripped of his garments. Here, nailed to the cross.
Yeah, but the line is like,
Again, very dark here. And this is where he died, on the cross.
part of the original rock.
So we're now on our way to the Jewish quarter.
Yeah, that's our next stop.
Action, and then you follow me right through the Jewish quarter till we come to the Roman street built in the year 135. Then we make a short stop. Anyone who goes to Los Angeles and you pay a visit to Rodeo Street, you know what that is?
Yes.
Look for Barakat, Victor Barakat. He is the #1 artist, yes, in antiques. What he makes of old coins with gold is unbelievable. Victor Barakat, Beverly Hills. Come on. Juanito.
Roll again.
So you go down to the Wailing Wall and then straight to the bus, please.
This is the Church of the Ascension, the tower in the middle there. Church of the Ascension.
3. 10, 15 minutes. Leave us.
The Western Wall.
And he wants to get married, there's nobody to help him. You know, usually the families help people to get married.
So at the Western Wall, and now we will get back on the bus and head for our ship. This is the side where the women pray. This is the walls of the old temple.
No, we're not.
And
just outside the gun gate, the camel.
نفادي كريم لحظة بتجيش اللي على البابين فوق شو رخص اسمع قاعد هديك بتقولي دولار جيت اخذت منها طيب لا تنقل قلت لك انت بتبيع حياك الله بس هيك بدك تركز
All right, are there any questions?
yeah, is God supposed to, or Christ, I should say.
You what?
You know, Jesus, is he supposed to come through the Golden Gate when he returns? Jesus comes back. Not him. Is he supposed to go? Jesus, is he supposed to, when he returns, as they say, some people say, is he supposed to go through the Golden Gate? supposed to go through the Golden Gate?
All right, the reason is about Jesus and the Golden Gate. The Jewish tradition is, and the Christian tradition is, that when the Son will come, he will enter the city or the temple area through the Golden Gate. This is why the Suleiman, when he rebuilt the gate, he closed it. And that's what the Muslims have built a cemetery in front of it to give the Messiah away. And that will be the day of resurrection. So, yeah, the tradition is the Messiah will come and enter the temple area through the Golden Gate, which was the main entrance to the temple area. Anybody?